All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to join us on the Skype for Business Pavilion stage here, we're going to go through a demo of Clarity Connect 4.0. My name is Jeremy Puent, and I'm the product manager of Clarity Connect. We are a native Skype for Business contact center, so we add all the contact center functionality native to Skype for Business, intelligent routing of IMs, calls, web chats, emails, and we're going to walk through the product here. I'm going to break this demo into 3 chunks today. We're going to start out in our real-time dashboard and take a look at the new dashboard that is built on an all-new metrics API that we've added to the product. And then we're going to take a look at some of the call routing capabilities. And then last but definitely not least, we'll take a look at what it's like to answer a call native in the Skype for Business client and interact with that. So what you see on the screen right now is the dashboard. This is a real-time view into the contact center, so you can see everything that's going on in your contact center, depending on your rights in your view. The screen that we see here in the middle, this is the overview screen, and this contains new metrics that we're calling the wordy metrics, because there are words there, right? It gives you a nice summary of the metrics that you care most about. So we can see that so far today, 83% of our interactions have been answered within the desired service level. 15 of them, 15 out of 18, were answered within that service level. You'll be able to configure all of these based on templates, so you can pick and choose the metrics that are most important to you. And you can send those out or push those out to different business units or groups or teams within your organization. There are filters at the top so that you can turn on or off different modalities to include them or exclude them from the metrics. Down the left here from this, normally when you first load it, it'll look like this, and there's a little hamburger menu. And this hamburger menu expands to give you a view into your queues and teams. And down the side, you can see what we call the health metric view. You can see that green, yellow, or red to let you know how you're doing. So you can define thresholds to say if we're at 80% or more of the calls or chats have been answered within the desired service level, I want it to be green and let me know that everything's okay. If it drops below 80% in the 70 to 79% range, it'd be yellow. And if it hits red, then there's a problem at 69 and below, right? So you define those thresholds, you configure what you want to see, and then you'll notice that this is going to be reactive. So if I exclude the chats, we can see some of the colors change, right? And the numbers change. And if we look at only the chats and exclude the calls, we see some different numbers and some different metrics that let us know intelligently where a problem lies, right? We're doing okay in the chat department, but in the calls, we've got an issue. So we need to figure out where that is. So one of the things that all call center products have always done well is point out the key metrics that people care about. But not all of those are what I consider actionable pieces of information. So if we take a look at one of these queues, we can see a lot more detail. And this is where we're going to get into some more of that actionable information. So we know there's an issue with calls. We saw that by adjusting the filters. We can take a look at this excess time. And excess time is a measurement of the amount of time beyond the service level that it took to get that call or that chat answered, right? So we know we're in the yellow, so there's a problem. We're missing our service level. But are we missing by an inch or are we missing by a mile, right? That is an actionable piece of data. We can see here that we're missing by 3 seconds. If we're missing by 3 seconds, I can go tell my agents, hey guys, instead of saying, thank you for contacting Clarity Support, this is Jose, how may I help you? Say, Clarity Support, Jose, right? I just bought 2 seconds. We're going to meet our service level on more of these calls. Now, if we're missing by 3 minutes instead of 3 seconds, it's still actionable, but it requires a different kind of action, right? I need more bodies then. I can't adjust a greeting to get 3 minutes back, right? But we have that actionable piece of data. You're going to configure these all based on a template. And there are a lot of different views. You can interact with all of this data. So if we take a look at the marketing, we can see there is an active session here. So when there's an active session, as a supervisor, I can jump right to that session to see all of the key data about that call or chat. I can also interact with it. I can silently join that. So I hear both sides of the conversation. Nobody can hear me. They don't see me in the participant list. They don't know I'm there. But I can monitor everything, so I can listen in and hear what's going on. I can also whisper join. This is sometimes referred to as coaching mode in the contact center world. I join that conversation. I hear everything. But if I talk, my audio is delivered only to the agent and not to the caller. So I can coach them through that interaction. Hey, take a deep breath, okay? Check this screen. Ask them that. Have you checked this, right? Make sure and keep them on the right track, keep them calm, coach them through that interaction. It's great for new agents. It's also great for if somebody's on a really tough call and they're having a problem. Once you've done that, either of those options, silent join or whisper join, you'll have the third option that supervisors or managers are usually looking for, and that's the barge option, right? Things have gone sideways, inappropriate language is getting used. I need to jump in and take control of that session. These work regardless if it's a call or an IM. I can type messages, and those are going to go to the agent and not to the end user. Same type of principle applies. I also have the ability as an agent when I'm logged in to see how I'm doing based on the key metrics that I'm measured on. So we can see that I'm 61% utilized right now. I have an active call, no chats, and I am also handling an email message right now. So based on the utilization that's defined for me that says how many of each type of interaction I can take, that's going to let me know how utilized I am and then how many other interactions I could take at a given time. If Johnny's real good and he can handle 10 chats at once while he's on the phone, that's great, but the majority of your agents are not going to be able to do that. I've only seen one guy that was good enough to do that. Redbox. Guy was amazing. Most of them are probably going to be like one and maybe two, right? One call, one or two chats. So you can set that on an agent-by-agent basis. So your rock stars can be your rock stars. You don't have to tie them to the lowest common denominator. You can also see how many total sessions I've handled so far today, what my average handle time is, what my maximum handle time is, right? So if you're worried about an agent getting tied up on a call too long, you can talk to them about that. You can also get alerts based on all of these metrics. We have different alerts built into the product based on the KPIs, the key performance indicators that you care about measuring. You can send those to agents based on sending an IM, sending an email, making a SIP phone call through Link, or making a PSTN phone call to any device. You can also now alert to the new dashboard. So if you have the dashboard up, you can get alerts right in this dashboard. There is also a big board view from the Today overview. You can hit this little button and it's going to peel off a big board view that you would throw up on a wall board, flat screen in the middle, whatever you need. One other thing I forgot to mention here is that we also have tear-offs. If you really want to keep an eye on one queue, right? We had that issue here. We went and told the agents, hey, change your greeting. I want to see that they're making that improvement. I can get a tear-off view of just this queue. And it's going to give me a miniaturized view of all of the stats of what's going on in this queue. Any second now, the joys of a live demo. And I can see, again, that same information. I can scroll through my agents, right? I can shrink it down to just the two key pieces and just tie this off to part of my screen. I can see more or see less of those stats. I can also take a look at how my agents are doing, see their utilization, see how many interactions of each type they've had, and every status change they've had throughout the day. Now, the kicker of this new dashboard is that it's all HTML5. It will work on any device. Pull it up on your iPad, pull it up on your iPhone, whatever you want, it's going to work. So you can monitor your call center from anywhere. But it's not just a scaled down version of this view. We built intelligence into it to know what kind of a device it's on and to serve up those key pieces of information in a way that makes sense based on the device. And not just that, but how you're holding the device. So if you rotate it into landscape from portrait, you're going to see more of these key metrics than you do. It's really intelligent. Now, the last big kicker we did here, we built all of this on a new API that I mentioned for our metrics. So if you don't want to use this dashboard for whatever reason, you can access that API and take this same data and serve it up in any platform you want. We constrained all of the developers. Anything you want to do here has to be possible from that API. They couldn't do any magic secret sauce. So when you got the API, you'd be like, well, I want to do this. And we'd go, well, that's the one thing that's not there. It's all there. So anything you see or can do here, you would be able to do using that same API. Is that cool? That's pretty slick. All right. So now we're going to jump out of the demo or out of the dashboard and take a look at the product now. So I mentioned the alerts, and we'll just real quick jump in there and take a look at how easy it is to build and configure an alert. Right, here's an alert based on longest queue time, right? It's very common in the contact center world to say, hey, you know what, it's slow this afternoon. I'm going to take you three, and I'm going to have you guys mark yourselves as unavailable and work on this project, okay? But if we get busy, if there are more than 5 calls in the queue, or if calls are holding over 2 minutes, which is what we see here, then I want you to go available and take those calls, right? And I'm going to head off to a meeting where I can't sit and watch the dashboard. I come back from from my meeting, I look at the dashboard and I go, why are there calls holding for 3 minutes? What are you guys doing? You're still working on your project. Why? You forgot to look at the dashboard, right? We're going to proactively notify you. Send that IM, make that phone call, send that email, or alert the dashboard to say, hey, over here, look over here, right? So then you change your status to available, you get those calls. Let the system work for you. We have a very powerful calendaring system built in. It's pretty cool that you build out your defaults and you set what your open hours and closed hours want to be. We can see here we're open from 4 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. That's some pretty rough hours. I think I was playing for one of the other demos. And then down at the bottom, so you've got your open and closed, and then down at the bottom we've got holidays, right? That's going to give us 3 different paths. And a lot of products have this, not all. There are some that don't offer a separate holiday path. So then if you want a different greeting for your holiday, you have to go play around with your closed greeting, right? Change it to a special holiday greeting, and then when you come back, you got to remember to flip it back. Otherwise, you get that awkward phone call around the first week of January. Hey, you know, I called the other night, and it says you guys are still closed for Christmas. Who's ever forgot that? So what we let you do is set overrides based on a specific date. So if I want to say, you know, this Friday, I want to close early, I can come in to this Friday on this calendar and set an override just for this day and say instead of 6:30, we're going to close at 5. I'm going to let everybody go home early. They've been working hard all week. We were really busy. You can see this is bold because it's got an override. The hours are different, and every Friday after this, we're back to our normal hours of operation. I don't have to think about it again. I don't have to worry about it, go back, make any changes, right? And this change is going to ripple through the entire product. The first place we're going to see the calendars is the same first place you see it in any call center product. That's in the call flow. When you look at our call flow editor, it's going to be very different than most other products that you see. It's visual. It's very easy to see what's going on. We can see that holiday path is different, right? So I can have a different holiday greeting than a normal open or closed greeting. We can see we're checking our calendar. So when I make that change for Friday to close early, the system is instantly aware of it. You can see here we've got Salesforce built in. We've got new Dynamics integration built in. So you can do lookups from right here in the call flow very simply, very easily. You can take that information and use it to do intelligent routing. If I can say, okay, based on this caller ID, who's the account owner for this account? Check their link status. Are they available? If so, send the call to them. If not, let's drop it in the queue for the next available agent, right? Intelligent routing. And then when we do that, we're also going to serve up a link to that Dynamics account. So they can click and have that information from that Dynamics account right there on the screen for the agent when they're talking to the customer. There's also true logic level checking built into this. If we take our open menu here and we edit it, we're going to change option 7 to be a new set queue node here. No, let's do that for option 9. We're going to change option 9 and make it a new set queue node. When I hit save, 2 things are going to happen. 1, on the fly, it just redrew the call flow. You can see that it's laid out nice and orderly, so there are no overlapping lines. It's still very easy to read. The second thing was the logic engine kicked in and checked the new node that we added. And it's highlighted in red, telling us there's something wrong with it. Hey, you did something wrong here. It won't let us publish this while there's red in the call path, because that could cause a customer to have a bad experience, right? If they push option 9, it doesn't know what to do with it. There's something wrong. But it also went a level deeper than that and said, is this a valid end state for a call or an IM? Those are the two things we can process through this call flow. And it knows that it's not. So it also drew a line and added a red missing box to let us know we're also missing a mandatory next step. So let's take a look at that node and see what we did wrong. Well, we said we were going to set the queue in. We didn't tell it where to put the call. So let's throw that in the customer support queue. And let's give it a valid end state for a phone call. And hit save, and again, it's going to redraw the call flow. Validation engine kicks in, checks everything. There's no longer any red. We can hit publish, and this would be live for the next inbound phone call. We now have a valid call flow. But there's usually something I have to do before that. I need to get approval from the call center manager. I need to say, is this the change you wanted, right? So what do you do today? Go update a Visio document, take something and send it to SharePoint or whatever. How about save this image right here? We're going to let you export that image, upload it to SharePoint, drop it in an email, whatever you need to do, send it over and say, hey, here's the new option 9 for the customer service queue you asked me to add. Is that right? Is that what you want? When do you want it live? You say it's good to go. I hit publish, and it's live for the next inbound phone call, right? It's pretty cool, pretty powerful. So we talked about that actionable data a little while ago. What kind of actionable data might we want to look for in reference to a call flow, right? We might want to know how our users are interacting with that call flow we just made and looked at, right? So let's take a look at our IVR heat map here. And I'm just going to grab last month's worth of data. We're going to look at the revision I had published this morning before I started doing demos. And here we can see that 171 calls have come into this call flow so far. We can see the path that they've taken. 171 came to the menu, 48 went to support, 59 to this path to marketing through Dynamics, and 63 went to the sales queue. Nobody is choosing option 7. Why are we offering it? That is an actionable piece of data. We can shorten the menu, give a customer a better experience by looking at this. Again, intelligent, actionable data. So there's one other thing I want to look at here in the admin interface before we jump to the agent experience, and that is the deeper level that I was mentioning for the calendars. There's been an inherent flaw in the way call flows and call centers have been designed. Everybody checks the calendar when the call hits the call flow. It's what you have to do, right? Do you want to present an open menu, a closed menu, right? But if you're open till 5 o'clock, and that customer calls at 4:59:59, what does the computer say? Are you open or closed? 4:59:59. You're open. That's right. So we're open. So the call goes to the open menu. They listen to the menu. Maybe their kid asks them a question. Maybe somebody blares a horn, right? It repeats once or twice. They make a choice. Hit star to go back a menu. Now they get in the queue. It's 5:04. Now support gets a phone call saying, 5 o'clock on Friday, all the agents, poof, disappeared. And there's a call in the queue at 5:04. Your system's broken. Is the system broken? No, the call hit the queue at 4:59:59, right? It's a flaw. So what we let you do is tie the calendars to a queue. So what does that mean? What can we do with that? Well, let's look at what we can do while the call's on hold. We can allow for forwarding. And we can automatically forward a call off when the queue closes. So now, even if they get in because of that little loophole, we can play a greeting that says, we're going to forward your call off to the on-call engineer, to voicemail. Please leave a message. You'll be the first call back the next business day. We're going to forward it to an answering service. But hold the line, your call is important to us. Whatever your business process is, you can set proper customer expectations, which is going to provide for happier customers and provide a better customer experience. That's pretty cool. What if we could take that one step further? What if 5 minutes before we close, we could change the greeting that was going to play? And this respects that calendar. So when I changed it to close at 5 on Friday, 5 minutes to 5, this is instantly going to happen. Different greeting, forward off at 5 o'clock. Normally it's 6:30, right? Because of that one change on that calendar. That same ripple effect happens through all of our products that tie into this. If you're talking about web chat with the web gateway, it's going to look at that same calendar in Connect to say whether you're open or closed, and then whether or not the chat widget appears or doesn't appear on the web page. It's pretty cool. All right, so last but definitely not least, I want to jump to the agent experience. Yes? What specifically are you looking for? We are skill-based routing. You can set skills at multiple levels. You can create however many skills you need, and you can assign them either on import. You can create a skill template, right? If you have a complex matrix, like we've got as many as you need them to have. It's a database. It can handle as many. It's all based on the skills, so they can have however many skills, and the skills dictate whether or not they get a call from a given queue or not. So an agent belongs to a single team. A team doesn't have anything to do with skills or how they're getting calls routed to them. It's just a way for the supervisors to look at them, the teams and the groups. Yeah, there are 5 different levels built into the product, so you can set skill level 1, then skill level 2. We're going to look at the most skilled agent first, and if they're the same skill, then the longest since they've handled a call within that skill. It's like longest available, but smarter. If you say strictly longest available, agents will game the system. They'll watch the dashboard, and when they see they're close to the top, they'll go busy available, and then they drop to the bottom of the list, right? We look at the longest time since you've answered a call, so even if you try to play that game, you're still going to be the next one to get the call. Yeah, oh yeah. The real-time stuff we were looking at, plus there's historical reporting. It's available intraday in 15-minute increments. Yep. And there's also like bulk edit, so if you want to make bulk changes, you can go grab everybody on a team and give them a skill in an emergency, things like that, to make quick bulk edits and changes. You can see here some agents with different skills at different levels. So Alex here has the sales at a top level, level 1, but he's marketing level 4, almost the lowest, but not quite, right? So here we're going to take a look at the actual agent experience. This is a call that came into the contact center. We can see the information that came in the toast in our Skype for Business client. We saw that it was Connect, so I knew it wasn't my wife or my buddy, whatever. I know it's a call center call, so I know I need to answer that call professionally, be on my best behavior. I can see the queue that it came through, so if I need to answer the call differently based on the queue, I know that before I accept that call. I can see the caller ID. Here's our Skype for Business chat window, and then on the right in the extension pane, we've populated our web-based agent console. So here you can see the agent controls at the top. There are 4 tabs of metadata in the middle, and down at the bottom is some information for the agent on how to manage this session. The details button is going to let you enter notes. These are going to follow the call through the system. So if I enter some notes here and I save this and then I transfer the call off to Wesley, he would be able to read my notes and add his own to it, right? I can also tag the call with the disposition and subdisposition. Why did this customer call? This is going to allow us in the reporting to break down and give you more granular information. With other products in the past, what I had to do was create multiple queues, right? If you want to know how many support calls came in, but you want them broken down by how many called to check on an existing ticket versus how many called to check on a new ticket or to open a new ticket, you have to create 2 different queues to get that level of queue breakdown detail, right? We're going to do it based on these because the thing that I've found in all my years of doing this is your customers are lazy, right? If they figure out that calling and pressing 1-1 gets them to a queue faster than pressing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, they're going to hit 1-1 every time. And then you're going to say, wow, sales did all these calls. But then you see that 90% of them transferred to support. Why? Right? So let's let the agents tag what this call was actually about. If your customers don't do something that you want, can you reprimand them? If your agents don't do something you want, can you reprimand them? Yeah. So you've got control over that. We can interact with the call here, putting the call on hold. The button's going to change, become a stop hold button, add a timer so I know how long I've had that call on hold. Take them off of hold. If I need to stop the recording because I need to take sensitive information, I can do that. Recording can be set in the product at 4 different levels and overridden. I can say record all of the calls, some of the calls, none of the calls. Always record this queue, never record this queue. Wesley's the boss. He doesn't want any of his calls recorded. You can override those at different levels. And then the last level is the agent level. So if I need to get that sensitive information, I want Craig's credit card number so he can buy us pizza. I can stop the recording and get that credit card information and then start the recording again. Yes? So we don't have a PCI compliant part of our product built in. This would be incumbent on the agents. We are going to, in about a month, announce an integration with a WFM and a QA/QM platform that also does screen recording that is PCI compliant. You can configure it that way, yes. That's tricky wording, right? There are ways that you can do that, but there are things that agents can still do to cause that to mess up, right? Yes. We'll announce that publicly in about a month. It's not ours. Yep, we're going to integrate to an existing. Yeah, it's one platform that provides WFM and QA/QM for scoring, quality monitoring, as well as screen recording. And you'll notice that every one of these interactions is confirmed for me, the agent, here in the chat channel, right? So I know when the recording stopped. I know when it started again. I have the ability to transfer to other agents. I can see their status. I can go directly to their voicemail. I can invite them to the conversation. I don't want to hand this customer off, but you have a key piece of information. I want to pull you into this call. You share it with the customer, then I let you go, but I still maintain control of that customer. Or I do want to hand it off. Hey, I'm just going to do a cold transfer and send it off. It gets to them or it goes to their voicemail. I don't care. They don't care. Or a consult. I want to do a warm transfer. Hey, Craig, I've got so-and-so on the line. Here's what we've talked about so far. Can I hand them off to you? Craig says yes. I complete the transfer. If he says, oh, no, you need to talk to Bob, I drop Craig, take the call back, and go get Bob, right? Same type of thing is going to apply when we look at transferring to a queue. But again, we're going to add more intelligent information for you so you can set the appropriate expectations for your customer. If you need to do a regular consult, right? This is an escalation from level 1 to level 2. I can say, yeah, I can get somebody from that queue. Hold on. There are currently no agents available. There's only one person online. They're busy right now. Give me a few minutes. Please be patient. I'll get to them, and then I'll get back to you when I bring them up to speed, right? Or maybe it's like, I handled the call, and I'm done with them. But then they said, you know what? I also have a question about my bill. Can you transfer me to accounting? That's not a regular escalation call, right? I want that call to end with me so we get credit for that in this queue. So what most companies will do is tell you a nice little white lie. Maybe you've heard this from a company. Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. The system doesn't let me make that transfer. You have to hang up, call back, choose option 7. So sorry for the inconvenience. Comcast. So if any of you have ever experienced that, we thought that was a terrible thing to do. So we give you the ability to in-queue the call. We're going to end this session, drop the customer in that queue as if it's a brand new call with a brand new session ID without inconveniencing the customer. Reporting all syncs up. Your customer's happier, you're happier, your stats and reports still all make sense, right? Last option here is transfer to contact. This is anyone or anything you would type into your link client other than an agent or a queue, right? You want to find a subject matter expert within your organization? Look them up. You can see them. Here's John. I can see that he's away. I can see the other options I have from my link client to get a hold of him. I can also see my federated contacts here from other organizations. You can put in PSTN phone numbers, and it's going to do a reverse number lookup. So if you put in a phone number that's tied to a link user, it's going to say, here you can do that. Oh, by the way, here's their status. And if you want to transfer without PSTN charges, get a hold of them this way instead. In the middle here, there are 4 tabs of metadata. This customer details tab has our new caller context screen. This is all of the information we looked up in the call flow and wanted to expose to the agent. So you can see here, this went through a Salesforce lookup and it found a Salesforce account. Then we went through a Dynamics lookup and we found a Dynamics account. And here are links to those 2 accounts directly. So we can click a button. I think I wasn't signed into Dynamics yet, so this will take a moment. But it's going to bring that account right up. We're going to be able to see the account, who the contact is. Here are all of the previous notes, call recordings, transcripts, based on configuration that we pushed back over after the previous call. So the entire history of the customer resides there. We have a conversation history tab, so you can also see the other dates and times they called, the other agents they spoke to, the queue they came through. You can see conversation details, every event that has occurred on this call, including putting it on hold, taking it off of hold, starting and stopping recording. We can even, as an agent, see how the caller navigated through the call flow. So if the customer says to you, "What do you mean I'm in support? I pressed 1 for sales." "I'm sorry, it looks like you actually pressed this," or, "Hey, you know what, you're right, you did, and it sent you to the wrong place. I'll get somebody to fix that." But the agents even have that information at their fingertips. Then at the bottom, they can see how long that they've been talking excuse me, to this user, how long the total session has been, including IVR, queue time, the total duration of the entire session. They can see how many other sessions are queued, how many other agents are available, and how many sessions they've handled throughout a given day. So that's usually where I wrap up the quick down and dirty demo. Do you guys have any questions for me? Pardon me? So we don't have a script built in, but we can, through the call flow, based on the queue, things like that, serve up a URL. So if you build web pages with the scripts for them, we could serve that up to them based on the URL for the call path. So there are ways to accomplish that. So the APIs that are published and available today is the metrics API for all of the real-time dashboard stuff. Nothing else is available via an API except for some web gateway integration. There's also an API for that. The agent console is going to be rewritten next, and we'll be rolling out an API with that next. We can do a custom integration for you into other WFM platforms. Contact us at Clarity. You would get a hold of whoever's going to be your account manager. So on our website, there's a Contact Us form. Fill it out, and we'll get the right person to you. The Director of Business Development is that tall guy standing right there, Craig. Craig, wave for me. Right there, him. So, yeah. Dynamics and Salesforce are the two that are out of the box. We also have an external data node that will allow you to interact with any ODBC database, any WCF web service, or any HTTPS web service. So you can interact with any platform. And then we can push the URL to screen pop any web-based application. Yes? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Hold on. We store it in the database. All right, no other questions? Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the time.